Okay, who are the best and worst bets for Game 3 of the Finals 2026, which is starting in about 2.5 hours. So, here we go. A little bit late to the game, but whatever, I don't care. We got Knicks win Game 3, Wemby rebounds, Brunson points, and other player assists. Now, for the first one, the Knicks win Game 3 is not the best bet to make, as you can see what I put on the stream, but I'm going to put this simply. There is more chance of the Knicks winning the finals overall than the chance of them winning Game 3. And this will go for the further games. I mean, obviously, we have no NBA team that's ever started with a 2-0 loss in their home. That's it. They just haven't. They haven't started home games 2-0 lost down. I swear it's only happened twice before in history. And now we're on the third time it's happened. Or maybe it's the fourth time, something like that. But it's a very low number of times this has ever happened. And no team has ever won after that. This is a very bad start for the Spurs. Very bad start for the Spurs. We're about to go to Madison Square Garden, 2 games. The Knicks are really holding themselves up. I mean, the reffing was fucking terrible in Game 2. It was super rigged. Now we're going over to New York. It's going to be a different environment. Shit's going to be different. The Knicks, they're just going to ramp it up. And I do think there's a good chance of them winning this game, but I also think the Spurs, if they don't win this game, it's fucking over for them. So they really have to go full tilt. I don't think they would have the energy to do that now. Maybe I'm a little biased, as you can see, but I genuinely think that the Spurs have more of a chance of winning this game than they even do the finals overall. Genuinely, because they will have to go full tilt, back to back, win the next 2 games and so on and whatever. But I genuinely, truly and honestly think that they could maybe get this game, but then the Knicks would just fucking lock them down. Now, do I think there's a good chance of the Knicks winning this game? Yeah. I'm pretty sure the odds are evening out more and more and more as it goes on, which usually is a sign the casino's trying to convince you not to bet on the Knicks, but probably on the Spurs, but they're evening out the odds because people are starting to pick up on the Knicks winning and so on, whatever. I think the Knicks could win Game 3, 100%, I really do. But this is huge for the Spurs, and I think it's just too volatile to bet on it. And it's probably a lot better either betting on the Spurs if you want to bet on that, just because odds-wise, I mean, if the Spurs aren't going to pick it up now and you bet on the Spurs and you lose your money, in all honesty, that's the last time you should bet on the Spurs in this whole season, because anything else would be a fucking shot in the dark. The Spurs are fucked if they don't win this game. It's really, you wouldn't be able to know when, they would win. I mean, if they lose this game, they will genuinely have to win 4 games in a row. There's fucking insanity, right? So that's number one. Number 2 is, if you're going to bet on the Knicks winning this game, if they win Game 3 in a row, and then they've got one more game in Madison Square Garden, and the Spurs still haven't cooked up a way to win, and then they've got 2 days to work it out, and worst case, if they don't work it out, the Spurs are going to have to win 4 games in a row without the Knicks winning 1. If you genuinely think the Knicks are going to win this game, why don't you just bet on the Knicks winning the finals as overall? That's why I think that's a bad bet. Do I think maybe it would be a good idea to do both? Potentially. But I think there are better bets that you could get a lot better returns on, that are even more likely by doing a more longer term one. People tend to not bet on longer term things. I mean, some people have already bet on the Knicks winning the finals, but for them that's just luck. Now we're seeing good, honest reason to believe that the Knicks are going to win and win the finals. But like I said, there is more chance of the Knicks winning the finals than winning Game 3. And winning Game 3 is very likely, so you might as well just bet on the finals anyway. Now let's talk about Wemby rebounds. I personally expected Wemby to get 12 plus rebounds in Game 2. He was far from making 13. I was genuinely expecting maybe 14, maybe even 15 rebounds. I thought he was going to go kind of getting a bunch of those rebounds, a lot more turnovers to kind of cut the distance with the Knicks. Didn't do that. Way less than Game 1. Right, he was failing, doing terribly defensively, terribly offensively, but I am seeing a shift in Wemby where he's playing more offensively. That's a huge gap with the Spurs. They tend to not have as good offense as they do defense. Wemby's a defensive powerhouse, but he really isn't keeping up with his offense. His shooting's going off, everything's going bad, and Cat is fucking clamping down on this guy. He's clamping down on him. I genuinely think Wemby rebounds, not the best bet to make. In all honesty, I would bet Wemby being under a certain amount, because I see he's trying to shift to a more offensive role. Defensively, the Knicks can just handle them. The thing is with the Knicks is there's enough of them and they play good, solid, ethical basketball, and they take their time and they're really solid on passing and everything. And they've got a real solid point guard on their team who's doing amazing playmaking. So the Spurs, their defense is really solid, and they're keeping the Knicks down, and the Knicks are running out, whether that be in the shot clock because they're not getting shots in time, and there's a lot of blocks, there's defensive, there's a lot of good contest. I mean, in the last few games the refs have been on some bullshit, especially Game 2, but what I am seeing and what I'm absolutely adamant is that the Spurs are really missing an offense. I think Wemby's going to take a less defensive role, and I think this is why the main reason why the Spurs are failing is because they really, really need Wemby to start playing offensively, and he can't do that as well as defense, and he can't. When he's playing offensively, the Spurs do not match up to the Knicks. That's personally why I think they're losing. The gap between his defense and his offense is so large that they just can't successfully balance it out, and that's the biggest problem. So that's why I would say bet under a certain amount. Don't bet over, bet under. Genuinely, it'll do you all good. I don't think he's going to do anything crazy. I don't think he's going to get an insane amount. If he does, that'll be a fucking insane shock, and the same way that the last game was an insane shock. I don't think betting on him is great because what I'm seeing is a player who is very, very inconsistent in changing up how he's tackling the game. You can't see the stats on the box score. You can't see how he's playing and what he's doing on the box score. You cannot see that stuff. You can't. It's not showing up on there. You need to watch the games and watch the way he's playing and analyze the way he's playing and look at the way that, a lot of analysis and a lot of journalists are talking about the way he plays, and watch the games and analyze the games and watch the replays, and you can see that he is shifting in the way that he plays. You may not see that in the box score, and you may see, oh well, this has gone up and this has gone down and this is the same. It doesn't mean anything. What it means is the way that he's changing in his play. And if you look at the way he's changing in his play, that is not a good bet to make. That bet is outdated. That's what he was doing before. They are not going to win. They are not going to win. I would even go further to say you could even do a fucking parlay where you include, the Knicks winning this and then saying Wemby does a small amount. Or if you were to bet on the Spurs, I would say bet on Wemby doing less, because the only way that they're going to win is Wemby playing more offensively. It's Wemby's offensive ability that has gotten them this far and really brought them to the end. But they were just clutching, and they're playing against the best clutches in the whole entire NBA. They ain't gonna fucking do it. Now let's talk about Bronson points. Probably one of the best in regards to odds. He's very solidly consistent. He's playing at home. He's kind of locked it in. You're going to see a lot of less of the bad reffing as you did in Game 2. There was a lot of backlash. In New York, there's a lot of difference, a lot more basis. Everything's going to be very different. I think Brunson is really locked in. I mean, obviously, Game 1, we had an injury from him. Whether or not he was fully recovered from it, I mean, usually there tends to be a tiny little bit of pain and a lot of comfort, but I think he's going to be there. He's going to have his whole team behind him. He's going to be back in New York, his home state. I mean, he's putting some solid fucking numbers up. You can put a thing. Now, I would say you could do a combined bet with him and Towns. I mean, Towns is really fucking picking it up. Towns has clocked their shit. He knows exactly what's going on, especially with Wemby, who's the guy who's meant to be guarding him. You could probably do something like a 50 plus points on them. I saw the other day like 100 plus points for like Wemby, Cat and Brunson or some shit like that. It was like 80 or something like that, whatever. But you could probably do a combined bet with him. I think the Knicks individual players making points is probably one of the best bets that you're going to be able to get. Probably one of the safest bets, most reasonable bets. It's very consistent. It's pretty solid. The Knicks players individually making high amounts of points. There's a huge disparity between how much returns you're going to get on those as opposed to individually betting on the Knicks. That's still a better bet anyway, yo. But anyway, betting on the amount of points that Brunson's going to make is going to be a very consistent bet. I mean, he's averaging, even since his days in Dallas, I mean, he was averaging super high points. He's been consistent for years of his career, and now he's being even more consistent in the playoffs. And there is no reason to believe he's going to do worse in this game, points-wise, than the last two games. Sure, there's still a chance of the Spurs winning, but again, like I said, the thing that is going to be gapping them and distancing them is going to be the Spurs offense, which means, in my personal opinion, that's not going to affect the Knicks offense either. In fact, because if the Spurs win, there is more of a chance of the Knicks making more points because the Spurs are going to be winning by offense. It's not going to be defense, so the amount of points that the Knicks are going to make is going to be the same and or more, because they're going to be focusing on offense more and making sure that those turnovers end up leading to good results. That's what you're going to be looking for. So probably one of the safest bets is making points on Brunson and involving Cat. You could even, I mean, there are some smaller bets, and depending on what casinos you go to, some are better than others. There's going to be, good solid bets with players like OG Anunoby and Bridges and so on. I mean, there's a lot of other people. I mean, if you find a really cool one, you could probably find a fucking bet on like, bro, I don't even know, just like certain players on the Spurs doing less than like 3 minutes, and I bet you'll find some. you can find some crazy stuff, and that tends to be where the gold is the less star players. Stop looking at Castle, stop looking at Wemby, stop looking at Bronson, stop looking at Towns, and look at the other players, because those are the ones where you find the really good bets. So combined points, and that's probably the best bet that you're gonna have for that game. Other player assists, you're looking at Towns rebounds, Harper rebounds, assists. Josh Hart, man, he was fucking popping off in the last game. He was so good. He was doing insane. So you could probably, if there's some bets, combining these guys or just doing a parlay, I think that would be really good. OG points, assists, etc. A lot of this stuff is going to be way more stable. I mean, what I'm seeing is a common trend of people betting solely, putting a shit ton of money on Spurs winning, Knicks winning, whatever. Not even that great of returns, and that's what I'm seeing from them. When on the other end, you can kind of take Towns rebounds, Harper rebounds, assists, and so on, and really work with that and really pump that shit, because that's where the money's going to be. That's where the success is going to be, is on those ones. They're making consistent. I mean, you could sit there and be like, oh yeah, OG, like, I don't know, you could probably find a bet that's like OG 6+ rebounds or something like that. He could probably solidly make like 7 or 8 easily, like no doubt. Towns rebounds, you could probably find one that's like 12+ Towns rebounds. In fact, I'm willing to bet Towns might even get more rebounds than Wemby. I mean, I'm pretty sure he did last game. I mean, his rebounds are going insane. Harper rebounds, even Josh Hart rebounds, OG Anunoby rebounds, Bridges rebounds. I mean, you can even bet on fucking Shamet points, Shamet time, saying he plays less than 20 minutes in the game, 15, whatever the fuck. Work it out based on averages, but they're going to be pulling back the players that have been doing quite a few minutes but been averaging pretty low. They're going to be looking at low amount of minutes on the time, so that's something good to bet on, especially on the Spurs end. They're going to be doing their main rotation players and only running those guys. They're going to be pushing those guys to the limit and pushing them on offense, and that's where they're going to fall over, and that's where your good bets are going to be. There's going to be a lot of consistency on the Knicks side, but there's going to be a lot of change up on the Spurs. But if you look at where that change up is and you focus on where that change up is, that's where you're going to make the money. If you want to bet on the Spurs, that's where you're going to make the money. If you want to bet on the Knicks, there's going to be a lot of consistency. They're betting on people fighting against the consistency out of fear of the Knicks not winning, and that's where it's going to be. That's where the points. So if you want to make money on your bets and you want to do one on your bets, that's exactly what you do.